Ex-stepmom feels entitled to a relationship with me after 6 years of no contact and ruining my childhood after she got in trouble with a preacher for lying. TLDR, my stepmother blamed 11 years old me for her getting in trouble while I was having a seizure, and even after being no contact with her for 6 years she still wants to talk to me while I suffer with medical issues because her conscience is killing her somehow. I, 24F, am a child of divorce. My biological parents split when I was 4 years old. My mother started dating again when I was 7 to a wonderful man and I love him to death, but my absolute idiot of a father dated several women between the time I was 4 to 8. Half of that time he was in and out of my life as it was, but that's not what this is about. This is about his last girlfriend / his wife prior to his death. My stepmother, whom I unaffectionately call my ex-stepbitch, SB, walked into my life after she met my dad while she was in a woman's rehab group in my hometown where my dad and his Christian rock band played, very Bible Belt area of the southern US. I always had an issue with the women / girls that walked into my life because of bullying due to my absolutely insane name that this man gave me, as well as his first girlfriend after leaving my mother abusing me and my little sister when we were very young. Not to mention that the reason he and my mother divorced was because he was constantly on drugs, so I was very aware of what her rehab group was for, which made my skepticism even worse. She showed up one day when I was 8.5, I remember, because it was summer and my birthday was in January. It was my dad's week, 50-50 custody, and dad was going to take me and my sister to our uncle's house to go swimming, but we were waiting for SB. It was that day that dad told me and my, at the time, 7-year-old sister that they were dating and had been for 3 months without saying anything to us. For minor context, my dad screamed at my mom for not telling her that she was dating someone, so there were issues in that for me. I distinctly remember looking at my dad, then at SB, then back at dad, and her again until I pointed at her and told my dad she's going to do something bad. This was the beginning of our dynamic. Fast forward to not only my dad getting married to this woman but me being used by her as a test subject for her psychology degree. She never finished this, by the way. I was 11 at this time and playing in my bedroom with my sister and cousin waiting for lunch after church on Super Bowl Sunday of 2012. My sister and cousin were on the computer that was in my room because we didn't have enough TVs. They were playing Movie Star Planet, which was all the rage at the time, and were using the camera feature. When the flash went off, I started to feel funny, to say the least. So much so that I started seeing red dots everywhere. I told the two of them, and my cousin made the joke that I was about to have a seizure. And to my surprise, he was right. Now this next part one don't have much memory of, other than stories from my sister, cousin, and dad telling me after I came to. Apparently the two of them ran downstairs to get a drink, leaving me on the bed until my dad came upstairs to get me for lunch. Apparently I was having a full grand mal seizure out of nowhere, and my dad did everything he could think of to keep me from hurting myself while calling 911. I remember waking up a little in the ambulance and my dad telling me I was okay and I should go back to sleep, which I did. Next I knew I heard noises, one of those being "Touchdown Patriots," and my dad cheering. The first thing I said after waking up was asking if he was watching the Super Bowl without me. That's when the room exploded. It was the first time since I was very young that my mom and dad were in the same room and not screaming at each other. Not the last, but that's a different story. I remember looking around after my eyes adjusted to see I was in a white room, a hospital room, still in my church dress that I was going to change out of after lunch and before the game. My mom and dad called the doctor back in to check on me, and I was scheduled for so many different appointments after that, including a sudden re-entry to the hospital because we found out I was allergic to the seizure med they gave me while I was unconscious. This part was told to me years later by my mother when I was about 17. Apparently while I was passed out and getting tests done, SB, instead of checking on me, called our pastor to pray over me. He was a good man, but I now have nothing to do with the Christian faith because of SB and my dad. But because it was a smaller hospital and involved a child, it was only direct family allowed inside the room with me. SB told the hospital staff that she was my biological mother. We looked nothing alike and she was 28 while I was 11. When my real mom showed up, the pastor who was outside the room told her it was family only, and when she told him that she was my mother and thankfully one of the new nurses that showed up was a friend of my mom's, she was let in and SB was kicked out. From what I'm told, SB got yelled at by our pastor for lying to him about my mother not having anything to do with me or my sister when in fact she was very involved in our lives. Hell, I was supposed to go to her house that day after she got off work, which was conveniently right after the Super Bowl. Anyway, after I was released from the hospital and my mom took me home to her house, things were okay. I was off school for a week because the seizure came out of nowhere and my primary wanted to have me come in every other day for checkups just in case. Things changed, however, when I went back to my dad's. I had gotten off school after my first day back, and while I'm doing my chores, which was washing dishes that day, SB came into the kitchen while my dad was in their bedroom playing World of Warcraft and told me that it was all my fault that the church is mad at her and she hated me for it. Again, I'm 11 and this 28-year-old woman is blaming me for her getting in trouble with a man she lied to. Not to mention that she and my dad would tell me anytime I was sick after the seizure it was all in my head, or you're overreacting, your pain can't be hospital level. My dad was a Navy veteran, so he always used that line whenever I was hurting, not realizing that medication I had been taking for years made my pain tolerance severely low. Ironically though, they were sort of right, explained further down. Since that day we absolutely despised each other to the point that no matter what I did I was getting Bible thumped. Even going so far as to make me late for an assignment for my freshman English class in high school because I made the mistake of claiming Greek mythology made more sense to me than the Bible. This still holds true to this day. I'm a practicing Norse pagan / Moonwiccan. She even got so insecure about my blatant hatred of her that she asked me to show her my messages between me and my counselor that I was assigned because of dual suicide attempts. I was 14 at that time, and even I, someone who at the time was studying forensic science and had an unhealthy obsession with criminal minds and law and order, knew that was illegal as hell and told my counselor about it at our next session. That nonsense got shut down very fast. Thankfully she's been mostly out of my life since I was 17 when my father died of a drug overdose / withdrawal-induced heart attack. She and my father had apparently been on drugs again, big shocker, and a personal I told you so on my part, and subjecting me and my sister to the fumes, which made me violently ill for several months, and we didn't know why until Dad passed. The last time I saw her was 6 months after he died when I turned 18 and I got the one thing of my dad's that I wanted, which was a 12-string electric guitar. Big music family. However, that wasn't the last time she tried to make contact with me. Recently, while I was in college, already stressed out because of more health issues that stemmed from the seizure incident coming up and the sudden death of one of my dad's 4 sons, SB started to spam my Facebook Messenger asking how I was doing, if school was going good, all this kind shit, only to yell at me for coming out as a demi-girl, semi-non-binary that leans towards the feminine side. I was using they/them at the time, and she called me an abomination, which was strange because I didn't tell her or anyone else about this outside my college friends who were on the other side of the country from where she was back in my home state. Apparently my one brother, who still has contact with her, for some reason told her about me, asking to be called sibling on our brother's obituary, thinking I still talked to this woman like my sister did occasionally. He was fully aware I hated her with a burning passion, but not exactly why. I'm not close with any of my brothers for various reasons, but that's beside the point. SB was tormenting me over the phone while I was studying for finals before returning home to get medical tests done. Come to find out I have epilepsy, autism, and a vein malformation in my brain that nobody cared to check after my seizure because the neurologist I saw in my home state at the time was an idiot and claimed I had the seizure due to low blood sugar, which come to find out is a massive side effect of the epilepsy and the malformation. I do have a blood sugar issue, but when I sees it gets dangerously low due to a plethora of other issues hormone and chemical-wise in my messed up body. I now have to go to the capital of my home state after dropping out of college because of insurance issues and have a consultation with a neurosurgeon to see if they're going to put me through radiation or just cut the malformation out of my brain. I went to Facebook in order to warn anyone on either side of my family since my epilepsy was genetic and I'm the first to have it on either side, as well as update my cousins who I still have contact with in that part of the state if they wanted to visit. SB fucking commented saying I should go see her instead. I nearly screamed. I was so mad that she was still acting all lovey-dovey to me, but thankfully my boyfriend was able to calm me down enough not to do something stupid and commented himself that if any of my family wanted to stay in contact with me, they will keep SB away from any information on my location in life. So far only my uncle, my dad's last living sibling, and his sons are the only ones who still keep regular contact with me, or my sister from my dad's side. I have little contact with my mom's family my entire life other than one of my 2 brothers on her side. I have my fingers crossed that the situation gets better before I lose my whole mind, but I have a feeling she won't come anywhere near me or our hometown because of how many bridges she's burned here by hurting me and my sister. Small town, lots of motorcycle bikers, who happen to be family to us.